Take your money, Chief, in the back. Okay, everybody's ready here? 1 second, 1 second, Chief. We'll be there. We're waiting 1 second, Chief. You're going to start by introducing yourself. Rank, name, spell the last name. Thank you. We ready there, too? Yes, sir. You ready? Thank you. Okay, Chief, go ahead.
Tell us your name.
All right, my name is Frank Lieb, L-E-E-B. I am the citywide tour commander tonight for the FDNY. Shortly after 1700, we received a 911 call reporting a fire in the engine room of one of the Staten Island ferries. A collaborative effort was underway with the FDNY, NYPD, and other stakeholders that responded out there. The crew had already put CO2 into the engine hold as would be the policy to do. Upon arrival, our main objective was to secure the vessel and to start getting the victims, well, the passengers, offloaded onto other boats. A decision was made to use other ferries to offload the patients, as that was a safer alternative than putting them onto fire or police boats at that point. We had a total of 5 injuries. 3 people were transported to the hospital. All were minor injuries. There were approximately 868 people on board, and then an additional 16 crew members. At this point, the fire is under control. We will wait for a minimum of 24 hours to make sure that the fire is controlled. We will be monitoring the temperatures, and then at that point in 24 hours, we will determine if we can open the engine hold and determine that the fire is indeed extinguished. It is dangerous to go into those areas, so that's why we use these type of policies. In the past, they've been very successful. We believe this will too. So we will be having a couple of units on scene, some of our marine units, and then some of our fire land units as well, again, for the 24 hours.
What kind of danger were the passengers in?
So the crew of the vessel was very quick to act, and they acted appropriately by notifying the Coast Guard of an emergency on board. They were also very quick to make sure that they sealed the engine room, evacuated the area, and followed the protocol to put the CO2 into that. So the CO2 really it takes the oxygen out of the air, and makes it it enables the fire to be extinguished. It doesn't have air, so then the fire goes out.
We're going to transition to John Garvey. John, if you don't mind, introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is John Garvey, G-A-R-V-E-Y. I'm the Deputy Commissioner and Chief Operations Officer for the Staten Island Ferry. I want to thank Captain Joe Ajar and Chief Engineer Trevor Girardi, as well as the crew that was on board the Sandy Ground this evening. They did outstanding work in extinguishing the fire, keeping the passengers away and safe, anchoring the boat up until other ferries could get in the area. They reached out to the Coast Guard and to NYPD Harbor for assistance. Joe Ajar, the captain on board, made a decision that he wanted to get all the passengers off before the boat was brought into the terminal. That was done safely. 866 people on board and 16 crew. I want to reach out and say thank you also to New York Waterways, Hornblower, and NYC Ferry for their assistance out there, as well as our partners.
John, I know this is one of the new boats.
It is, the Sandy Ground.
Vessels, I'm sorry. What should we take from that, if anything?
All the safety systems on board worked. We don't know the reason yet for the fire. We're going to wait for the Coast Guard to make that determination. They won't be able to get into that engine room to even start anything until we get a chemist on board after the fire department has opened it up for us.
But have there been any mechanical issues with this vessel or any of these 3 new vessels since they went into service that would
Nothing,
in this direction?
nothing of this nature.
Inspector Russo, just step up, please.
How you doing? Inspector Anthony Russo, Commanding Officer of the Harbor Unit, RUSSO. As Chief Liebert said, we received a 911 call about 1,700 hours of Staten Island Ferry going from Manhattan to Staten Island with an engine room fire. At least 5 harbor launches responded. We immediately requested over VHF Marine to have all ferries and tugboats in the area to respond to help evacuate with the passengers. The two cops on board the Staten Island Ferry reacted very quickly to get people away from the smoke, hand out life jackets, and get people towards the evacuation area. The people were evacuated from the tugboats onto the ferries and back here to the Staten Island Ferry Terminal, where they were treated via EMS with a triage area. We also had an ESU maritime boarding team on board on my launch to help any disabled persons. We did have one wheelchair person that needed assistance getting off, but it all went very good.
Any questions
Yeah,
there?
what were the roles of the tugboats? I thought they went on the ferry.
So the tugboats had two roles. Some of the ferries had passengers on board from their trips, so we did not want to bring those passengers to the fire zone. So they got on top of the ferry and helped hold it on station. It was getting very windy out there. They did drop their anchors, but when you have an engine room fire and you may not have power, you want to have those tugboats locked in so they can keep that ferry from running aground into shallow areas.
Good. Josh?
Yes, thank you. Chief, and then maybe Inspector Russo also. I guess the question is, this was not a rush hour ferry. This was in the other direction. So it has a capacity of 4,500, and there were 800 some odd people. There was a fair amount of smoke visible in videos of people reporting. I guess I'm wondering, was it a lucky break that this was a relatively empty ferry? Could there have been a lot more people who would have been injured with smoke and various other?
So no, this was not a lucky event. This is years and a long time of preparation and training with the different stakeholders. The crew acted as the crew was supposed to act. So whether this had 880 or if it was at full capacity, this luck didn't play into this. This was all, it was as you've heard from the different speakers, the collaborative effort all around. This is the way the system's supposed to happen. When there's an engine room fire, you're supposed to notify the Coast Guard, and then you're supposed to make sure that you seal it and get the people out of the way. So everybody acted the way I would expect them to, and that's because of the collaborative nature of the Staten Island Ferry and the partners that we have here. Many of the people that here train and drill together on a fairly regular basis.
If I can just add that,
Go to the microphone, please.
sorry, if I can just add that our crews drill on a regular basis for this. You know, they're conducting weekly fire drills and going through all the motions here on the eventuality that we could have such an incident as this.
Has this ever happened?
We've had incidents in the past, but we haven't had anything recently.
Question there?
Can you just clarify, was this going from Staten Island to Manhattan or Manhattan to
No, it was coming from Manhattan, coming to St. George.
St. George?
Yes.
Is the fire still burning?
We hit it with a Novak 1230, which is a fire suppressant. It should be out. The engine room is still warm, and we're going to wait 24 hours before we open it.
Because when you said it was under control, that implies
It is.
it's still burning, but it's out.
Yeah, so we will wait out of an abundance of caution, and from our previous history, it dictates that we wait. We do that prudently, so we'll wait the 24 hours. We do believe that the fire suppression system that was added to it, that it did its job, and that we do believe the fire is out. But what we don't want to do is open up that door early and give it the air that it needs, and then wind up with a larger fire. So that's why, out of an abundance of caution, we will make sure that we take the proper steps to ensure that it is out.
Can you tell us about the injuries?
The injuries were all minor. I believe one was an asthmatic patient and maybe some minor smoke inhalation, I believe, from some of the crew.
Just to be clear, were they all, how many city employees, whether they were crew or maybe for NYPD, somebody had said there was an
three. Three city
Had smoke
employees.
inhalation, was
There were three.
Three city
There
employees.
were 3 city employees.
I'll give
Yeah.
you the breakdown.
In fact,
I'll give you a breakdown. I got the
yeah.
breakdown.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on the operations and the incident tonight? Everybody else is good? Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Inspector. Thank you, John.
Thanks.